those things. It is what it is.
Okay. Good morning. Welcome. Welcome everybody. So what an interesting week last week.
Oh
Yeah,
man, it was interesting week. An interesting week. I will want to say that.
some real
Definitely.
you know, Scott can really pick um the pumped model trades where he can, identify these shady players in the market and then assess what's happened and then be able to come up with those kind of virtual trades. Like that's got absolutely nothing to do with price action. And I think that's worth kind of
Yep.
stressing that there's all these different trades that exist. So what Scott did, there are no candles, there are no price action, none of that matters anything.
Yeah.
He's got the ability to be able to witness the con unfolding.
Mm, mm.
And well, that's a case of getting on crypto Twitter, getting dirty in the trenches. It's I mean, the man's been
But
in the game for a long time.
it's one of those things. Is obviously you get it right sometimes, you get it wrong sometimes. It's not because I mean we have plenty of opportunities that didn't go our way. So obviously
Yeah,
it's one of those things to understand when to size, when not to size, and it's tough, man. It's not like the only way to sort of is just getting dirty and like getting burned sometimes, and
exactly.
that's it.
Why do we think that when Scott took a screenshot of his Retardio at
Yep,
$500,000, why do you think he's now got a new heuristic that is, if it's good enough to screenshot, it's good enough to take profit? Where do we
yep,
think that
yep,
heuristic? Oh, right, it got come from him getting absolutely slapped around the face by
yep.
taking profit, you know?
Definitely, definitely. And we all been there, man. We all been there. Like if you haven't been there, you haven't experienced crypto the way you know what I mean? That's what it is. I'm serious. And it's a tough
Exactly.
one. But it's yeah.
But then it's there's another I always because like Scott's heuristics and his little metaphors, if you know what I mean. At first they seem like, what is this guy babbling on about? But then they all become very relevant in these times. So, for
Mhm.
example, he will tell you that first thing is you need to survive. You need to be in the game. You can't be out
Mm,
of the game. You need to be in the game. So that then translates to risk management and however deep you want to go down that rabbit hole. Okay, that's how you stay in the game. There's the take profits one that we've done. Then, you'll hear him say things like markets are mostly a fuck around machine, right? You think, oh, that's kind of funny, isn't it? If you know what I mean. But they generally do the opposite to what you want them to do. And then that's when the emotions come in, and it's like it's not fair, if you know what I mean. And
mm.
everybody feels it. It's just the processing of it. I mean, it's why Scott would tell you that most people that do this for a living, corporate wise, they're degenerates, alcoholics, cokeheads. It's just the coping mechanism at the very, that very kind of pinnacle of the finance. So, like last week was a case of it doesn't matter how hard you get hit, it just matters that you get up again and that you're still
Correct. Mm,
and that you're still in the game, if you know what I mean. Now I've got some long-term bags that I've had since about mid 2023. Got some nice entries on that, and I'm still cunted on most of those.
mm.
But this thing hasn't finished yet.
Oh,
Regardless,
it won't,
any
man. It won't.
any
It
like, oh,
is.
the 4 year cycle's ended, or this or that, or Twitter, or somebody said, well, it doesn't matter. None of that matters. This hasn't
Mm.
ended yet. And if it has ended, okay, then Ian, well, how are you so sure? How do you know that it hasn't ended? Well, we could track it backwards to things that we've said in this video about making a new higher high in what we could look at as a second price discovery for Bitcoin before we began the ascent. Not making that higher high would have put us in a different situation, and you could follow the trend back from there. So those long-term bags, the game with them, the risk premium, the price that you pay for having them is that you make the bet and that's it. You wait until the end of the strategy, and you either do that in peace or you do that giving yourself high blood pressure and going insane, if you know what I mean. If you're in a trend following system, either a degenerate account or a normal trend following system, well, it sucks, doesn't it? It absolutely sucks, and drawdowns suck, and everything just sucks. But that's the reality of it. Now, there's other people that are like, Ian, I made 1,000x on virtuals at the weekend. You know, I doubled my bankroll on that degenerate thing at the weekend. But those trades were not easy to put on. They had to wade through shit to put them on. They had to figure out wallets. They had to do this. They had to press buttons like that. That's another version of risk premium. They were willing to do something that somebody else wasn't willing to, wasn't willing to do. You know what I mean?
And that's a very good point, because obviously a lot of people don't know how to do stuff, and then when the opportunities presents, then they don't know how to execute. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have the accounts ready, you don't have the the bots ready. Maybe, if you use the Trojan or you're not, you don't have all that set up, and then understanding how to set it up with a little bit amount of money, it gives you the confidence to actually do this with a little bit more size, right? Like, the XPL thing, we can talk about it now, and we can go through, because essentially we've been doing that for the past 2 years, right? Whenever a new chain comes in, you have to figure out how to buy the spot of that, shift it, go into the chain itself and buy the new shit, you know what I mean, on that chain, which is exactly the same, but obviously with different flavor. But then if you haven't done it before, it's tough. It's not easy, man. Like, you know what I mean? It's not easy. You're right. It's not easy. Like Asta, for the first time that I called Asta, and I didn't call in my video, but the people that actually caught it, they knew how to do it, right? They knew how to actually, okay, this is not in any exchange. I need to go and buy BNB, send it to my wallet, send it to fucking MetaMask, or, first of all, have your wallets, right? Have your wallet set up, right? And then go into Asta and buy spot. And then it got listed. And then obviously that's when you made the money, right? But if you never done that, I think it's a really good time now to actually understand how to do, chains, wallets, all that sort of stuff, because otherwise it's going to be plenty of opportunities in the coming months. And if you don't know how to do it, then when the signal comes, right, then you're going to start figuring out things. You will not be able to do it with size, you know what I mean, like with a good amount of money, so it can actually take good so start doing it now with small amount of money, so you learn, and then you'll be all good in the future, I guess.
This is it, because we've got the spot and the leverage on the 100x Coin Club portfolio. So let's always think about Scott's heuristics again, right? Let's say that you've got $5,000. Well, you could treat that as 5 bullets of $1,000. You could treat that as 10 bullets of $500. If you wanted to get into a coin that you wanted to ride all the way to the end of the bull run, so that could be one way that you that you do it. Another way that you could place a trade is roughly the equivalent of a decent meal out for you and partner, friend, or whatever. So it's just enough that if you lose, you go, oh yeah, fuck. But that's it. That's as bad as you feel, because then the trade is real to you, because you get that, oh, you twat. The trade is real to you, and you can even come down a little bit from there, and then pretty much quickly after that, you start to come down to an amount that you think, okay, this is much more reasonable whilst I figure this out, whilst I get my execution slick, whilst I figure out my bankroll. Because eventually it's getting to a place where it's not that you know it all, but you have systems in place that you can get a signal from anybody. And you can take that signal, you can do a quick sanity check on it. Let's go to CoinGecko. Let's have a quick look at the chart. Let's go here. Let's go there. I'm under no time pressure. Which exchange is this on? Do I have an account with that exchange? I don't have an account with that. Okay. Am I prepared to open an account and go, no, fuck it. I'll wait for the next one. Yeah, I'm in the mood. I think I'll go through with it. I think I'll set it up. I've got a way to keep my passwords, keep my records, and everything like that, So it's all that kind of not too sexy stuff that goes on in the background. Let's have a look at this. Wow,
yeah,
question.
And something that I've been, because there's been a lot of new stuff coming through. So I think in the next couple of weeks, I'll be sizing down the spot portfolio, and sort of evaluate more, because I don't think that there is a lot of stuff that it will not come back at all. You know what I mean? It's a lot of new stuff, man, coming through right now. So all the liquidity is actually heading that way. So in spot, I'm going through a lot of stuff that or may come back, but not as hard as the new stuff. I'm gonna go through some stuff right now that I'm thinking, and I think that could be a really good spot portfolio sort of management in a way, right? So yeah.
Nice. Right, should we dive into some coins?
Let's go ahead, man. Let's do some roundup on last week. And the good thing is, here's a good thing: the month is almost over, and I think it's going to finish in a good note. You know what I mean? Because that's what we were waiting for, like finish of the month, finish of Q4. Unfortunately, a lot of things bounce over the weekend, like on low liquidity stuff. But then we'll go through some stuff.
Nice, and give us plenty of that that open interest stuff, with the underlying market psychology, if you know what I mean. They're panic selling here. They're
no, man.
love all that. The money flow. We want to know what the human beings are doing. And
man,
institutions as well, Maurizio. That was the thing that I wanted to ask you about today.
Yes.
Institutional money, right?
Yes.
Can I make this fucking wild claim? Let's start there, right? I'm looking to skim the crumbs off of the institutional trades, as in they're the ones. So look, we're coming towards the end of the month and everything like that. Bitcoin is down, so I think that means that institutions have been slowly coming out of their positions over the last couple of weeks or so, and now they're going to look to get back in. And it's that institutional money that's going to drive the market. And then my bet, if I can align my bet with what I think they're doing, then I can maybe just glean off a tiny bit. So they're in charge. I'm following. I'm trying to be in their jet stream. That's my grand question to hand over to you today.
Interesting. Yeah. I've been pondering that question for ages. All right. And I think there is I'm gonna give you a really interesting thing that I'm watching closely because that's it, right? I think institutional money at the moment is the king, right? Like where if they start buying, then more than likely market will follow through, right? So are you still there?
I am here, mate. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. All right. So let's start with the overall of Bitcoin, right? Because last week was a very interesting week. So we had this huge candle here, which was Thursday, right? And Thursday was horrible. Like, how do you guys feel today, right now, with crypto? Do you feel more confident? Do you feel horrible? Do you feel that it's gonna crash? Do you feel it's gonna go down to the moon? How do you guys feel? Just asking, and give me your initial thoughts. Is that
Well,
on show?
I
Yeah,
think it's
good,
fair to say
uncertain.
I'd rather still be in bed than on this call, Maurizio. That's how
Yeah,
I
shit,
feel
man.
about crypto.
Don't get me wrong. I felt like shit this morning, man. You know what I mean? Like, uh,
It's like if this was like football or soccer, this is like turning up to work after getting beat 5-0.
I know, I know, man. Far out. Because, all right, like, if we take this slowly, right? Obviously, I'm targeting, right? One of the things right now is we sort of, let me just take these markings off, right? In terms of the technicalities of this. Oh, from the daily perspective, we're still bullish, right? This could definitely seen as a higher low, right? That is definitely developing.
Mhm.
This, was the shit thing that it gave us over last week, right? We have a lot of liquidations, a lot of things. Now we basically on Sunday will reclaim this. Now, something that I don't like to see is this on Sunday, unfortunately. And we've
Okay.
been gone through this over and over and over again, right? Like, on low liquidity stuff. So markets are not open on Sundays. What I mean, institutional money cannot actually flow on Sundays or Saturdays, right? And a lot of things happen over the weekend.
Mhm.
Sometimes you do get this, this is sort of the first influx, right? So I'll be waiting to see what's going on from the daily perspective. If you ask me from the structural perspective, it looks pretty good, right? It looks pretty
Mhm.
good.
It
Let's
does,
see.
yeah. I mean, we
Let's
seem to
see.
have closed
Yep.
above that range.
So everything seems like pretty okay, right? But then obviously you have to take that with a grain of salt in terms of like this happened on a Sunday. Okay. This happened yesterday. This candle was yesterday, right? So it's a lot of retail doing this. So is this going to hold? Could, but let's go through the monthly. All right. So through the monthly, this is an interesting thing that is going
Mm.
to be crucial. Okay, so what do you see here from the monthly perspective? Like, if obviously we are what 2 days, 3 days away from the month to close.
Mhm.
So what do you see here that do you think it looks bad?
Well, I mean, we still seem to be printing a higher low with that candle.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, could you draw some kind of flagging structure with that? With the if you drawed it on the two candle bodies, or like it comes
Right.
from the white candle body, which would then I don't care whether that's a bull flag or whatever, but
Hmm.
do you see this as like sort of compressing sinusoidal action within a triangle, or do you see this more as a flagging structure? Because I look at this and I think, well, if we look at the bottom of this month's candle, well, it's okay. We're still higher than
Yeah.
previous, all the previous months. So as long as we don't finish any lower, I'm optimistic.
Correct. But let me show you, like, this sort of week is a definition of setting pressure, right? So, and this is the monthly thing. Let me show you in terms of what I'm watching here. So have a look at this pattern here, and then look at this pattern here. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very similar, right? You have that, and then so essentially you have this fucking around before we actually start going up, right? That's kind of once you start easing off a little bit, right? You do have a fucking around. Now we are going to start October. right? So the beginning of the month, usually, depends of where we heading, right? This could be sign of de-risking for institutional. Month hasn't closed and
Mm.
Q4 hasn't closed. Would you agree?
I agree.
Okay, so that's kind of what's on the cards for me, right? Like I'm taking this a little bit slower, right?
Mm.
Especially after the month close. Can we actually pull back all the way up here? Yes, we could. Could you actually take a trade just as a trade, not as a whole, not as a get position? I will start getting positioning more than likely, like longer time after the month closes, right? After we get a little bit better perspective. But short term wise, it looks amazing. It looks amazing, right?
Mm.
So basically everything depends on how the monthly close will look like. That as simple as that, right? So I'm holding up a little bit on that, right? Todd, I do agree. Q4 could be really amazing, and I do believe is going to be amazing, right? But here's the problem: Q4 is 3 months, right? So which month is going to be the catalyst? Let me ask you that question, right? So obviously, if you position yourself on spot, I think should be okay. But if you position yourself on leverage, I could get stopped out again, which we did on 4 trades last week. We got stopped out, which is it doesn't feel great. So that's
Mhm.
kind of the main area where I'm at, right? Q4, I know is going to be amazing. Which month of Q4 is going to be at the beginning of October? It's going to be at the end of October, beginning of September, November. You know what I mean? So that's kind of all right. So James mentioned mid-November will be my guess. Awesome. Awesome. How about Todd? I want to hear your thinking, man. I
Mm.
think, but that's
So
kind of, yeah.
back in 2021,
Yeah.
if I'm right, we can check this on the chart. Back in 2021, it was pretty much all over now. It
Mm-hmm.
in this kind of going into October. I think 4 years before that, it was over a month before. And technical analysis that I've seen is
Mm-hmm.
we're extending by about 30 days. Like that's what the
Mm-hmm.
chart says. That's not a case of we are going to extend or the cycle will continue. So
Mm-hmm.
that would move, say, if it was 30 days, which is very fitting, then that would be kind of November. So I
Yep.
think that for the catalyst, like we've got to hurry up. And I would put that hurry up also in relation to if we look at ETH BTC, yeah, ETH dominance, ETH BTC, right? And we see how that has just fucking gone right. We've got to get a move on. And it's just
Mm-hmm.
blasted away.
Mm-hmm.
This is why I'm getting optimistic because I'm creating this situation in my head that I think that we are compressing into this final part, which creates the parabolic part of the bull run. We're in the bull
Right.
run. I think we're 90%, 95% done with the bull run. And now it's the parabolic phase to come, which people mistakenly call the bull run because it's the parabolic phase of the bull run.
Interesting. Interesting. And yes, definitely that's in the card. So obviously, timing that we can say, oh yeah, we can be problem with being so sure in terms of this is gonna happen this month is that you might missed it or you might start early. You know what I mean? So
Mm.
it's not an easy thing to do, man. But then I do agree with some of you guys that it's going to start probably later on. So that's why I'm holding off in terms of like longer time frames, longer time trades, right? To actually get position probably after the month is over. Um, but structurally speaking, right, Bitcoin looks amazing, very, very good. And we've been talking about let's go through the open interest and the CBD, man. And this has been very interesting. So we got the I think last call, we actually, everything was crashing live last call, like last Monday, right?
Mhm.
Do you guys remember that? Like last and something that I mentioned. Yeah, I think I have it. Have it marked here. This is what was going on last Monday. okay, on our last call, okay? So we actually had this liquidation event. So this is a very, very telling, and obviously you need to be patient, but this is kind of a really, really good setup to always pay attention to. And so we had the liquidations here, right? Bang, but then was no follow through at all on spot CVD volume, right? We start seeing a little bit of spot volume coming through here. That's why I went into Solana last week, right? And then it starts selling off again, another liquidation event, right? And this is the price action over the weekend, okay? So this is kind of over the weekend price action. Now, what do you guys see here? So this is obviously this is small time frames. This is 30 minutes, but it gives you sort of the perspective of where the market could head, at least during the week, right? So what do you guys see here? Okay, so what I'm noticing, right? First of all, yeah, Todd, spot on, man. So now we can see that there's been buying. So this is a level that people or spot, and be aware of a spot. And Ian, your question on how do you track institutional buying, right? This is the first gateway. Why? Because institutional buying will not actually uh, buy leverage. Why? Because it's too risky. And then obviously, first of all, you have the ETFs, and ETFs needs to hold spot in order to actually give you the ETF sort of deal. So anything that happens institutionally, it goes to spot, okay? So this is kind of the first time that you can have a see sustainability, right, on the spot buying, right? Is this going to hold? We'll see. But on the sort of medium term, small time frames, right? Yeah, let me just move this one up, I think. It is looking that it has to start breaking a structure to the upside. So obviously having the CVD giving you the idea when the bottom could look like, it looks like it's getting there, definitely, right? So this is the one that I think it looks pretty good from that perspective. So I can see that this level, people definitely, institutions, people, retail, whatever, whoever's buying a spot are willing to actually buy at this level now, right? You can actually see it. So with that being said, because leverage, like there's nothing. So what does that mean? It means that more than likely all people that shorted, right, are closing positions, right? Because spot volume is coming through. And the reason why I can definitely say that that's the case is because you do have now liquidations to the upside. What that means is people that shorted here thinking that Bitcoin is going to go to zero or whatever, or 107 or 100 or whatever. Then either are forced to close position, but that's because spot are buying. So if you ask me, like if it wasn't end of the month, I would be buying right now, man. Like on a leverage sort of because because that's kind of something that that's kind of how I read it. Okay. So this is a very interesting price action. This is very telling and sustainable for the price action. Ideally, what I want to see, or the best trade that I can definitely take, and which he fell on me on Solana last week. This is something that I'm still keen on Solana, to be honest. So this is what happens Solana, and let's go through Solana. Let's go through Solana first. So we'll go through the whole because Solana I think is it could be an interesting bet. So that was our trade. We got it stopped out, and then now it's on profit, of course. That's how it is. And obviously, catching this falling knife is tough, right? Obviously, I should have waited, but it's one of those things that sometimes you wait, sometimes you just get the bounce directly. And we got the bounce over the weekend, right? So if let's take this straight out.
Oh, man, my internet went funny then, and I missed a big chunk of the open interest. There's no need to repeat it, but yeah, that was the bit I wanted to look at.
Oh, we'll go and look it up on Solana because it's
Nice.
exactly the same pattern. Okay. So obviously in terms of price action, this looks good, man. You know, looks pretty good. Ideally, I want to pick that up at 200. So 200, are we going to retrace all the way down to 200? Who knows? I don't know. It could be a 205, it could be 200. This could be actually now coming down right here. But if we start looking, like, let me show you this from the monthly, right? And the monthly, this is what I don't like. So monthly, if monthly closes above 232, will be very bullish. If it closes there, it's still very iffy. Why? Because it's a lot of rejection out of this area, right? So that means, so this is a very, very huge area. So if you look at it from the monthly perspective, let me just draw a line in so this area around the 239 area, right? So on 2021, first rejection point, and then it went to shit, right? Obviously, there's a lot of intricacies here about the FTX thing and whatever. Then on November last year, right? Again, and failed. It wasn't able to actually reclaim this level, and now we're retesting it again. So this could be, if you look at this in terms of the price action from the monthly perspective, right? It looks like it's compressing to the upside. However, not sure how it's going to resolve yet. I do think that it could resolve to the upside, especially with the amount of liquidity and what's happening, across the board in crypto, right? But we have this huge but here. You know what I mean? That is, it's still 30% for 40% that it could reject and fuck around for a little bit more longer, right? Now, if we analyze this on the open interest, so that was a trade that we took, right, on last week. What I was looking for, I was looking for liquidations. I was looking for liquidations to the downside, and I was looking for spot buying. So when you have this sort of divergence that you do have liquidations and then you have a spot buying, then that's a pretty good setup, man. Why? Because it means like all these liquidations have been absorbed by spot buyers. And what I mean spot buyers is when I do say that institutional, this is the first gateway to figure out if institutions are buying. Because if you don't see any spot volume coming through, right? You could see the price actually, the price going up, and more than likely is going to be driven by leverage traders. But at some point, you're gonna get the liquidation, you're gonna get the flashes, you're gonna get people closing positions, and the price becomes very very easy to jump around up and down, right? So obviously that was my take, and that was the reason I was seeing liquidations, and I was seeing this spot volume coming through around here, right? So that was the basis of my trade, and unfortunately I was right, but the problem is the stop loss was wrong. Simple as that, right? So the trade basis was right, but the selling was a lot, man. Like it was a lot of selling across the board. So obviously the stop was actually misplaced. However, it's very tough to actually place the stops there. So that will go on my log, how to refine it to make it better. So with that being said, now we have this level here, which is the lowest thing, which is 120, 191 to 27, and 191, again, now you do have spot buyers coming through, right? And this basically happened on the 26th. That was Saturday for me, by the way. Saturday in Australia, right? Now you start seeing open interest coming low, right? Why? Because now you start seeing that people that shorted Solana, right, now sort of redeeming, either profits or getting liquidated whatsoever. We start seeing the same price action on Solana. So now we have CVD coming through, and on higher time frames, you see CVD coming through as well. So with that being said, this now you're looking that spot buying in Bitcoin, spot buying on Solana, and spot buying on Ethereum, right? Why? Let me show you Ethereum, because I was looking at this morning. Same deal. So you have the same pattern, right? And you do see a lot of spot coming through as well. And we did mention this, that 4,000 was a really good level. I was going to put a trade, guys, on, but because I got a sort of like, I had the iffy thing of Solana, I didn't, but that still looks pretty good, even though it hasn't actually managed to break this structure here at Ethereum. You do have the difference that now you have CVD buyers coming through. You have spot buyers coming through. Where are these spot buyers coming through? You don't know. You don't know if they are institutions. You don't know if they're retail. You don't know if they're whales. You have no idea. But part of this definitely is going to be institutional buying. Okay. Now, here's my second analysis, right? This CVD came through over the weekend. So there's a high chance that might not be institutional buying. Right?
Oh, of course. Yeah, you said at the start, didn't you? It's only a Monday Friday game.
So I want to see, that's why I want to wait. I might miss, if this thing starts going ripping out, I might miss a little bit of a chunk there, but it will be a safer bet in a way, right? So obviously, if I'm gonna do leverage, then I want to wait a little bit longer before I actually start getting position. But with that being said, this is actually a pretty good price action from that perspective. Okay, so those are the only things that I'm watching, right? At the moment, the majors, to see how they react. So price action perspective, it looks amazing, man. Let's see what happens today, right? Today, obviously, it's the first Monday, but I want to see what happens at the end of the month, at the end of the day, right? And in a new month, probably the first week, usually for the first month, the first week of let me get my thoughts together. The first week of every single month is usually prices come. The price tries to actually find the balance where the month is going to be. And then after that, that's going to be a really good gateway to know where Q4 could lead us. But yeah, Marlon, very good point. So Solana ETFs are getting closer. So that's going to be a lot of institutional inflows, liquidity coming through. So that actually is going to help out Solana and Solana ecosystem, and anything related to Solana is going to be okay. So overall, market looks pretty good, man. Obviously, from the average perspective, I'll wait a little bit longer. I'll say a week, or if I see an opportunity that actually goes, then I'll jump on it. But then I'm still tracking just to make sure that we can get positioning through, because obviously we did get stopped out on several. So I need, risk wise, that sort of need to be a little bit more careful in terms of all the other trades. So we'll be more selective, right? But it's gonna be a point that market will not stop at all. So that's why buying a spot, I think, is a really good idea. So obviously, when I issue my signal on Solana, I added more on the spot, right? Because that was a good level. 200 is a good level to actually buy a spot. Can this go by a little bit lower? Yes. How low? I think as long we maintain the 200 EMA, we're still bullish, right? And it's looking pretty good. It's looking that we head in that direction, and you know, buying a spot on Solana could be good. Obviously, you're gonna get these drawdowns up, down, but at some point in Q4, there is a high, not high, I will say 70% probability that this will resolve to the upside. If this resolves to the upside, right? If we have a look at this from the weekly perspective, let's have a look at Solana. So if we resolve to the upside, where do you guys think Solana could go?
480.
Why? Give me why. Give me 500 reasons why.
Yeah, I can give you one. I'll give you one reason. Once it gets to the new all-time high, it's just gonna go fucking crazy. In price discovery, it's gonna be like a rocket let off, you know, like a speedboat without a driver.
I know, and that's the thing, right? Where this thing could go, who knows,
Oh,
right?
you,
Because
the thing is, you can't say I'm wrong once it gets into price discovery. I might have picked a stupid number or seemingly a stupid number, but nobody
yep,
can say I'm wrong.
I agree. I agree. Everybody's gonna be right because at some point it's gonna retest that number, right? So yeah, from that perspective, I'm still very bullish on my spot holdings. I'm still very careful on the but then I'm going to do a little bit more risk averse coins, you know what I mean? Like all the stuff that's you know, XPL and all that sort of stuff.
I did
We'll
have a
go through
question
XPL. Yeah.
about risk, Maurizio. So if we look at Solana as we are now, and we could trace that back to let's see, sort of August of 2023, right?
Yeah.
And if we look at that, Solana's already done like a 10x from there. So
Yeah.
whilst Solana has got upside to come, it's going to enjoy price discovery, new all-time highs. Hopefully, it's not guaranteed. Solana, I would start to put into a category of the upside is becoming less for me to trade it versus something else that is still accumulating or just looking to break out. Now it's not a case of this is better than this. It's a case of looking at these coins and sort of thinking, I'd put Solana in this kind of bucket, whereas I'd put Farcoin in a different bucket. Solana
Mm-hmm.
would see, this might be the wrong language. Well, it is the wrong language. Solana, I would see as more of a safe bet that it will
Yeah.
go up, you know.
Yep.
Farcoin is riskier, but the ability to swing and move because of the volatility means you can trade these coins in different ways.
I agree, and that's something that it goes very much with what do you do for a living and what's your net worth?
Yeah.
Why? You know what I mean? Because if you are a high net worth individual, right, and then you know you're very risk averse, then you will prefer this type of coins. You will prefer the majors, Solana, Bitcoin, Ethereum. You're still gonna get really good upside. You're able to put much more capital in it. Let's say you put 100 grand in here, and this thing, you know, and you basically have that 100 grand and know that 100 grand is not gonna hurt your bank account. But if that does 2x or 3x or 4x, you made 5 million, 500 mil, 500,000, half a mil. That's actually good, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
so obviously, and from that perspective, you can afford to put 10, 20 grand on Filecoin, and if that thing does 10x, you can make another 200K, easy money from that perspective. But it doesn't hurt your bank. You know what I mean? Like putting 120, $150,000 in the crypto market and losing it, you're gonna be okay with it. Okay.
Yeah.
Now let's take another, you know, case of someone that does, I don't know, $80,000 a year, and then you have savings of 30 grand in the bank, and that's all your savings. Okay, that's
Okay.
all your savings. Then I wouldn't put all the 30, like, you know what I mean? It's a different strategy, right? It's different strategies, strategy that you could just basically buy majors, put a little bit of, depends if you're okay losing those $30,000. How long did it take you to save those 30 grand? And if you lose it, how devastated you're gonna be? You have to always ask that question, every time that you put money on the market, it's like, how devastated would you be if you lose it? And if your answer is I'm gonna fucking kill everybody and gonna commit suicide, then they'll fucking do it. You know what I mean? That's too much risk for you. As simple as that. Always think, what happens if I put my money here and it doesn't go through? Then that's your answer. That's your answer. All right, how about 1,000? How about 2,000? How about 3,000? And then it's gonna be a point that you're gonna be comfortable with, and that's the amount of money that you should be putting on. That
Gotcha.
you know what I mean? Like that's but from the risk perspective, then obviously Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, there's the most risk averse tokens. It's not gonna go down as quick as Filecoin, but it's not gonna go up as quick as Filecoin as well. So you ask the same questions, right? How about if I put 30 grand, put 50% on stables, and not stable, sorry, so on more risk averse assets, right? And the other 50%, I'm willing to lose it. I'm gonna fucking gamble this shit. That's it. You know what I mean? And then if you're okay with it, then that's okay.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Because there is so many opportunities coming through in risk assets. So let me go. We only have like 10 minutes, but I do want to talk about those risk assets. So Pump. Let's talk about Pump. So Pump, there is now, this is my thinking. I think Pump could definitely do all-time highs again. And then if it goes to price discovery, this one could do, let me just put it. Now the hot narrative, right? What is the hot narrative that is going, like, I don't know if you guys have seen what is the new narrative coming through. And I was going to do something on Saturday, but I didn't have enough time. And so the hot narrative right now is DeFi exchanges and all and stable coins protocols, right? Those are the hottest thing on campus at the moment. Okay, so always, if you're able to spot the hot narratives early, then it could be a really, really good way to actually capitalize on. Because let's say that you have that risk, that 50%, like you're gonna put 50% on spot on really good assets that you really like long term, and then the other 50% you're gonna bet on it, right? You're gonna do like either leverage stuff or you're gonna do risky assets. And you can actually do 25 on risk assets, 25% on asset on leverage things, right? And then that 25% that you actually did on risky, you could do 3x, 4x, 5x, 10x. That actually will cover the whole portfolio, only with the 25 risk. You know what I mean? And then you're gonna start enjoying that, and then you rebalance at the end of the month, or you rebalance, and then you keep doing the same thing. So that's an interesting thing in terms of risk management, right? When you take some profits, you rebalance, and then you keep playing with the 25% of your whole portfolio, right, on risky assets. Okay. So with that being said, what are risky stuff that I really, really like? Pump, right? So Pump definitely now has becoming part of the narrative, like, because it is kind of like a DeFi. You can actually buy stuff through the exchange and buy Pump tokens and buy all this stuff. So that actually fits the criteria. You get Asta, which we already got in on Asta, right? So Asta could be the next Hyperliquid as well. This is another DeFi, right? Then over the weekend, and I was watching this when I completely missed it, it was Apex. And Apex, it is the DeFi protocol for Bybit. Okay, and these guys actually did this on Mantle. So Mantle is going bull. Why? Because Bybit is taking Mantle as their native token, right? And So this one went up over the weekend from 0.5 all the way to 2. So already overextended, right? So I'm actually willing to buy this one. I went 300%, man. Unfortunately, I missed it completely of the weekend. And but then I'll be looking to buy and pullbacks, right, on this one. Then you have the stable coin stuff, right? You get stables, right, which is a brand new protocol. I did I'm looking at that one. It hasn't actually done much. Why? There is a highly likelihood that XPL is still in their thunder. So this is XPL, right? If you bought when Scott actually hold it, then Pro is already up. I don't think this one will come down, to be honest. There is a lot of this is 125. This one now could become like a really good stable coin coming through, or risk averse. The only downside of this one, and you have to be mindful, is in terms of how new launches are. Let me tell you the dynamics of a new launch. So the price that you see here, right? This is the perpetual contract that it was launched on Friday, August 25, right? And it was launched at 41 cents, give or take, right? Now, before this, it was the pre-sale, like XPL went on and actually do a pre-sale, and you can actually do and buy tokens before it actually go on market, right? So a lot of people go and buy that at 20 cents or whatever. It depends on what the pre-sale allocation is. Usually what they do is, they start raising the price according to where when it's going to be launched and things like that. There's a lot of pre-sale deals that you can actually get through Instagram influencers, shit like that. But you have a vesting period. What that means is you cannot actually sell your tokens until first the token is released to the public, which basically was released here on Friday. But you have this sort of trading, which is called pre-trade, very risky stuff, and you can actually pre-trade the token, but you're not trading the token because the token hasn't been released. So this is all mumbo jumbo in a way, right? So until the token is released, which basically happened here. Right there, okay? Token was released to public. Now, anyone that holds pump can actually sell it if they're able to sell it, but depends on how you bought it, right? You do have a lot of what is called vesting period, in which you need to hold a token or certain amount of token, right, for a certain amount of time. Now, in terms of the tokenomics of Plasma, right, then they released these, I think it was only 10% of unlocks, but no one actually sold. Now, what we have to be mindful is when is the next unlock is going to happen. If that people are willing to sell, usually there is a lot of selling pressure on those periods, and that could be the time to actually probably buy. Would I buy here now? No, unfortunately. If I didn't buy here, I'm not going to buy here, right? Can this go to 3 or 4? Yes, it can. But at some point, people are going to sell it. How much are going to sell it? Who knows? Can you do DCA on this thing on a spot portfolio? That probably will be the best approach that I will do. Like if let's say I want to invest $10,000 on this thing, I wouldn't buy the 10 grand right now. I'll start sort of like tagging, because I don't know what's going to happen in the future, and I don't know how many people are going to sell on when the unlocks are happening. Same thing with Asta. Same thing with Asta, which is a brand new protocol, right? Now with Apex, it's a different story because this thing has been in the market for a while. Okay, so this DeFi has been in the market for a while, but now it's getting the narrative. So I'm very tempted to do this one. So that's kind of the ones that I'm sort of tracking closely. And also Stables, brand new protocol still. So obviously that's just to highlight a little bit of the dynamics of how these new launches work, and why do you see price action before the the launch, you know what I mean? But that's how everything works, But Same thing, same mechanism, World Liberty Finance. This is the pre-trade. This is the pre-trade. You have a pre-sale, right? Same thing, exactly the same. You had a pre-sale, this thing went nuts, and then you get a massive sell-off event on the day of release. On the actual day of release, this is the sell-off, right? That happened on because a lot of people sold off. But now market is actually stabilizing. People that had sold off already sold off. If they didn't sell here, more than likely they're not gonna sell, and that could be a really good opportunity to start buying. So that kind of be the interesting thing, okay, in terms of new launches. So that's why this protocol. Now, in terms of really risky trades, it will be the one that's got called in. It's called Trillions, right? So obviously Trillions, you needed to go and buy XPL, wrap it up, and then buy. And this thing went up 300%, right? This is still on the cards. Obviously, this pump actually happened the last 2 days, so I'm still watching this one for pullbacks. But I'm watching another one. I'm watching pretty much anything on the plasma ecosystem. Why? Because it's the new hot thing. So I'll encourage you to learn how to actually do this, like to get XPL, transfer that, and buy some Trillions just for fun. Buy $100 worth and understand the whole process of how to do this, because this is a brand new protocol. There's a new launches coming through on this protocol, and I think that could be the next Solana. I don't know if people were around when actually Solana meme coins started going nuts on Solana ecosystem. And the same thing now, man. It happens over and over and over again in crypto, right? So obviously we're still early, but I'm watching this one, Bankless. So Bankless was launched over the weekend as well. Narrative is still hot, so this could be the way I see it. This could actually still do probably to 200% at least, right? If it starts coming through. So I'm watching this one very closely in terms of really risky assets. So yeah, man, a lot of opportunities. But the good thing here, learn how to do this, because these opportunities will not get on the exchanges. And if you do it, if you're early on these opportunities, more than likely, you buy here, you sell around 1 cent, sell half, hold half, and then if this thing goes to an exchange, more than likely it's going to appreciate in value quite rapidly. So, man, it is a lot of things. So exciting days. So we'll see how it's gonna go this week, man. But yeah, that is how the things that I want to highlight today.
That is absolutely awesome, Maurizio. Thank you for that. I
Mm-hmm.
wish we had
No
you for
worries.
20 hours on a Monday, but we need to let you get back. So have a great week, man, and
All
speak to
right,
you.
guys. No worries. Have a good day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Okay.
Ta-da,
Bye-bye.
man.